Welcome to Dungeon Academics. My name is Thomas and I will be your instructor. Today I'd like to talk about one of the biggest taboos in role-playing games, splitting the party. I'm sure you've heard the advice from many people, never split the party, and there are many good reasons for this. But today I'd like to talk about one of the less voiced opinions on why this is often, but not always, a bad idea. And my inspiration for this came from a concert I went to last night. My wife is a classically trained violin player, and she was playing in a performance of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, the very famous da-da-da-da. I'm sure everyone knows that piece of classical music. It's probably one of the most famous pieces of classical music ever written. Wonderful piece of music. And as we were driving home, I was talking to my wife about it, and she said one of the things that's really nice about that piece of music is that everyone has something to play and, a time to shine, except the trombones, who don't have anything to do until the fourth movement. And this really felt like a Dungeons and Dragons moment to me. Because one of the things that I try to do as both a DM and as a player is give everyone their time to shine. If I am a player and I think a member of my party might be able to contribute something and they haven't spoken up yet, I'll give them a gentle nudge in character, saying, "Oh, isn't this something you know about?" Or perhaps out of character, I can tell, "Hey, isn't your character good at this? This could be a time for you to jump in," if they haven't done so already. As a games master, when running games, it's important to make sure that each character has their moment to shine. If you have a character who's really good at fighting, give them something to fight. If you have a character who's really sneaky, give them an opportunity to sneak around. So where does splitting the party come into this? I was listening to the Natural Six actual play. It's available as a video and as a podcast. It's a group of actors based in the United Kingdom playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I'm really enjoying the Natural Six game. It's set in their own world of Reliquia. There's a really nice cast running it. They've got good production values, and it's an interesting and exciting adventure. Without giving too many spoilers away, there is a section where they have to rescue someone from a prison. And the party splits to gain entrances in different ways. You have a druid who's going to use wild shape to sneak in. You have a rogue who's going to try and climb up a neighbouring wall and then gain access to the prison that way. And then you have a wizard and a bard who are going to bluff their way in as new guards. And this leaves the fifth player, the fighter, who doesn't have the skills to climb in, can't wild shape, and doesn't have the charisma to bluff their way in. So they wait outside and stay on guard. And they then don't do much for the rest of the episode. It's about 3 hours of playtime that's focusing on these three other subgroups. Two of the groups are individual people. Now, the Games Master handles this quite well because they've got a lot on their plate, running three often parallel storylines in the same location. But I kind of feel bad for that fifth player who's left out, because they didn't do anything. They were watching their friends play a game. Now, I understand why they didn't join in, because they weren't good enough at bluffing to try and get past the guards. They weren't sneaky enough to try and climb over the wall, and they had no other way of getting in. But it felt like they were a spectator in their own game, and that's a problem sometimes. If it's for a short period of time, it's not a bad thing at all. But for a whole 3 or 4 hour gaming session, I can see how that would take you out of the gaming experience, and it's something that players and dungeon masters need to avoid. I'm not saying you should never split the party. let's be clear on that. There are definite times when mechanically, thematically, in terms of storytelling, it's the right thing to do. But when you do split the party, it is the responsibility of the players and the dungeon master to make sure that everyone has something to do during that time. This is a team game. The team means that you're all working together, and the game means it should be fun. And if you are relegating a player through action or inaction to be a spectator in the game, it doesn't sit right with me for longer periods of time. For shorter periods of time, that's not a problem at all. But for longer periods of time, like a whole episode, that felt kind of bad. Now, the player involved didn't have a problem with this. There's an after show called Action Surge that's part of the Natural Six game, and they talked about it and they said it was fine, and I believe them. I do not believe there is any bad blood there. But this is something that I think games masters and players should try and avoid. And when you're splitting the party, given that this is that much extra work for the games master, perhaps it's the responsibility of the players to make sure that no one is left behind or left out in the split party situation. Again, this may lead to situations where things are not as likely to succeed, but perhaps a slight sacrifice of the chances of success is acceptable if you can get the whole party to be involved in the project. So that's something to think about. If you split the party, how to make sure that everyone still has access to and enjoys the game, and they don't feel like a trombone player in Beethoven's Fifth Symphony that they only get to play in the very last movement. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think, and enjoy your next game, whatever it may be.